Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Real Canterbury. My name is Angus, and I am a third-year University of Kent student.
And I'm Christine, and I'm a second-year University of Kent student. We have an exciting program ahead of us. We have the lovely Nay here to talk to us about Real Community. And after which, you guys get to ask her the questions you want. You can ask through Slido, YouTube comments, Facebook comments, whichever you choose. And in the end, exciting, we'll be announcing the winner of the £20 Just Eat gift voucher. I hope you guys have tagged your friends and all, because that sounds amazing to me. Yeah.
But first, we are going to have a look at today's Would You Rather question, which we posted on our Instagram page. And today, the question is, would you rather A, live in a community full of ants where there's no room to move, or B, live a day as a butterfly where you can fly, but you've only got one day to live? Now, I know my thoughts on this. I've got quite strong opinions, as you can imagine. Well, what do you think?
Okay. Mine is definitely the butterfly. I can't imagine it any other way, because you get to fly. Okay. You get to be one of the most beautiful creatures ever. And just the flying. Why would you say no to flying? Plus, so many ants, so claustrophobic. I cannot imagine that. Stuck together. No.
What can you achieve in a day? Think what you could do with a lifetime surrounded by a whole colony of ants. Think what you could achieve.
I found the coolest fun fact about butterflies. Okay, the coolest. I'm a little weird, so I might. Okay. And butterflies can taste through their feet. Is that just not perfect? So, but they have a liquid diet as well.
Through their feet?
Yes, they taste through their feet, but they have a liquid diet. So imagine this. I get to sit on a lasagna and drink water, and the lasagna tastes like, the water tastes like lasagna. How perfect is that? I cannot imagine.
I can get a colony of ants to bring me little by little an entire lasagna and feed me.
But the question is, you get stuck together forever with a bunch of ants. Isn't that claustrophobic?
I think for the last
turning into an argument.
The community. Yes. Yeah, well, should we find out what the popular vote was? Hopefully, we're going to post.
Yay, butterflies.
We're going to have a look at what the populace thought about this. Well, possibly we're not. No. Well, I guess it's all butterflies. You have to make up your own choices at home. Well, moving on from that, now we're going to watch a video and see what some Canterbury students think community means to them.
Community for me is having people that will support you through thick and thin. So, like people you don't need to impress, people that you can just be yourself with, and people that you can just enjoy hanging out with, and that will always be there with you.
And as an international student, I came to this completely unknown place, and I was surrounded by people I didn't know at all. And then the pandemic hit, and I was stuck here, and I couldn't get back home. And if it weren't for the friends and I had made at church and at CU, I would have had an extremely difficult time. Their generosity and their care helped me handle the homesickness and the loneliness that I felt at that time. I believe everyone deserves to have a community they can fall back on when they're having a difficult time. And I hope that everyone finds that too.
Well, community could be defined as a group of people with a common goal or shared belief. But to me, I think it goes deeper than this. I think that what makes a community is the support and the belonging that you get from a community. I think that people can belong to different communities, but what makes these a community is the love and support you get from other members of the community.
Community to me means the people I choose to surround myself with. So that would be family and friends, and at university it's the societies I'm part of and the things I spend my time doing.
Reverend Solver's Father talks about how we are one body in Christ, and that perfectly describes what the word community means to me. To me, community means unity, because in a community we're around different people and different walks of life, where we can learn from each other's experiences and grow from strength to strength, and that's what community means to me.
For me, a community is a group of people who value what each other have to offer, who support one another, who have fun together. And I think often communities are groups of people who are brought together and united by something that they have in common. But apart from that one thing, they might be quite different, they might be from different backgrounds. And in my own life, when I have felt part of a community, it's just been so wonderful, it's brought me so much joy. And I think that belonging to a community, to a group of people who love you, who accept you, who care for you, is something that we all long for in life.
Community is very important to me. I value the connections that I share with others. Being a part of my church community and my CU community is something that I couldn't imagine my university life without. It's very easy to be isolated, to feel isolated and feel detached from the world, especially at uni and especially in the times we find ourselves in now. Having that support network of people within a community that will care about you and share your beliefs is so important to help you stay grounded. Building relationships within communities and making memories with one another and becoming part of this family and this group of people who care about each other is a truly incredible, wonderful experience, and it's such an important thing to have. No one gets through life alone. That's something that I've been made aware of many times. I'm sure there'll be many more times. The community is such an important ingredient to life. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing, and it's deeply important to me. And I treasure the times that I've spent as part of the communities that I found here at uni.
To me, community is place and, more importantly, people with who you can feel comfortable and just be yourself.
Community to me is what we're made for. We are made to live with other people. People who we can have a laugh with. People we can be honest with. People we can share our burdens with. People who will challenge us and push us to be our best selves. People who respect us. People who disagree with us. Community is all those things and more. We are made to live in community, to live with those people around us, and to include them in our lives. It's people we share something in common with. And to me, community is so, so important.
Wow.
Wow.
What a video. Some incredible responses there. I'll tell you what, we have both had quite a shave since then. Yours possibly mine.
Yes, we are. Yeah. Hi, Nay. So we have Nay here to talk to us about Real Community. And by the end of her talk, there will be a Slido code at the bottom of the screen. So you can just enter the code through the website, or if you have the app, through the app, to ask any questions you want. There it is. Slido code's up. And yeah, so Nay, before we leave you, we'd love to know your opinion on the what would you rather question. Would you rather live in a community full of ants where there is no room to move, underline that, or live a day as a butterfly where you can fly but you've got only one day to live?
Yeah, I went with the winners. That's with you, Christine. And I would be a butterfly because there are between 15,000 and 20,000 species. So you didn't say that I couldn't choose like between the species every second of the day. So I could potentially be 15,000 butterflies in one day alone. And I'd just like to say I'm with the 25 other people that voted against the 3 that voted for the ants. So girls are the winners, I'm afraid, tonight.
Oh yeah, so if anyone was wondering, it's 86% to 14%. So looks like we're Team Butterfly here. On that note, Nay, we will leave you to it. Your platform's yours.
Brilliant. Thanks so much. And it's really great to be with you this evening. I'm Nay. I live down in Southampton, married to John, and we've got 2 little girls, Anya and Agnes. And it's just brilliant being with you. I'd much prefer to be with you in person, but you know, this is as good as anything. So thanks so much for being with us tonight. We would love to hear from you this evening. You saw some of the questions earlier. What have been the happiest moments of community so far in lockdown? Please put them in the chat wherever you're watching tonight. We'd really like to hear from you. But also, we'd love to hear from you. What are you missing most in lockdown in terms of community? So please just pause for a couple of seconds, write down some answers. We've had some, but we'd love to see a whole load more coming through. So tonight, I'm looking at the really big question. Is it possible to have community in a socially distanced world? That's the massive question that we're asking this evening. And some people have already started to put some comments in terms of their happiest moments of community so far. So thanks, Becca. My happiest moment with friends is when we've had something to celebrate, e.g. a Zoom birthday party. Thanks, Angus. My happiest moment in lockdown has got to be when I did my last online quiz. Anyone else? What is your happiest moment in lockdown so far? Let's see. Anyone else? Got lots of butterfly comments. Any more happiest moment comments? Well, mine so far has got to be a Zoom disco that I ran on Friday. We had 300 kids at this disco, my children at the local school. It was the last day of term and everyone was feeling a bit miserable. So we thought, let's just bring some happiness and cheer. And for one entire hour, we had DJ Andy playing his tunes, and it was just the funniest hour of my life. There's been some really good points of community in lockdown, but also I'm sure if you're like me, there's been some really difficult times too, haven't there? Lockdown has impacted us in so many ways, and one of them is definitely community. And there have been some really ingenious ways of connecting, haven't there, in lockdown? Whether that's watching a Netflix series or film on a watch party together. I don't know if you've done that, but I've really enjoyed doing that with my brothers and friends over lockdown. Maybe you've played an online game with friends, or you've been doing gaming with friends online in a new way. We played Settlers of Catan last night with 2 old friends, and it was just brilliant being together. Maybe you've enjoyed one of the escape rooms or another way of connecting together online. There really have been some ingenious ways of connecting, haven't there? But there have also been some struggles too. Zoom calls going wrong. If you saw the really famous viral Zoom committee meeting last week that went completely wrong. Other struggles have been not being able to hug anybody, or just not being able to catch up with somebody in person. Let's have a look at some of the things that you're missing. Thanks, Emily. Definitely missing hugging my friends. Thanks, Andrew. Missing going to football matches. Anyone else? What are you missing in terms of community in lockdown? I'd really love to hear from you this evening. I've been really missing seeing friends at the school gate when I drop my kids off. I've been missing seeing my brothers. I've been missing going to a swimming pool rather than swimming in the cold river. There's loads of things, aren't there? Thanks, Asha. Missing having people over for dinner. There's so many things that we're missing, even though there's been some really ingenious ways of connecting. But why does community really matter to us? We heard that brilliant video, didn't we, of the stories of why community matters. Why does community really matter to us? And why do we long for community? And what does that longing ultimately point to? Well, I wanted to tell you a bit about myself because I'm really passionate about community. So when lockdown started, I was just about to organise a big conference for my work, and we had 3 days to change it from an in-person conference to an online conference. And we did it. It was amazing. We went from 100 women at this conference to 150 women. We went from women just from the UK to women across the world. And I don't know whether it's because we were all in this lockdown and everything was so stressful, but it felt like we were really together. It felt like community. And that started me thinking about whether it's possible to have community online. And throughout lockdown, I've learned loads, mostly from my friends from the disabled community who have spent decades and decades online building community together. I've also learned from friends who are in countries where they can't meet in their churches, and the only way they can meet is online. So I've constantly been asking, can we have community in a socially distanced world? And I'd like to say, first of all, wholeheartedly, that I really think we can. So I have been running something locally that we call Bitton Park Family Fun. And this is a Facebook page for families in our area. Throughout the last 6 months, we have run loads of family activities and trails. We've run a Nominate Your Neighbour scheme. We've run a food bank, and we've also raising money to give gift bags of thanks to our local NHS workers. And last week I put your question out onto Facebook to see what my friends thought of this question. And they replied resoundingly, nay, yes, we can. We can have community in a socially distanced world, and we've proved it. So right now, if you were in Southampton and you live near us on a socially distanced walk, you'd walk past our house and you would see the Lego trail that we're doing. There's 50 houses on this Lego trail. Some of the reaches on our posts have had up to 6,000. People are writing in saying, thank you so much for building community. And recently I was interviewed on BBC Radio Solent about this. The lady asked me what I'd been doing in the last few months. And finally she said to me, Nay, why do you do what you do? You're busy, you've got kids, you work. Why do you do what you do? And I said to her, look, really simply, I grew up in a family where my dad left when I was 7. We were a really poor family. We were poor in money ways, but also in family and in community. And I said, our local church showed us what love really is. They not only demonstrated that in terms of loving us, providing for us, being community for us, but ultimately they pointed to the God behind community. I said, our church showed us what love is. And the reason I do this is because I want to show others that love. I want to be love to others. And so tonight, I'd really like us to think about, why does community matter? And why do we long for community? And what does that longing ultimately point to? Well, I'd like to suggest that this desire for community is inherent in who we are, how we've been made, and the God behind it all. You see, the God of the Bible is radically different. He is a loving and personal God. And this is in contrast to all other major religions. There are many personas, but not personal gods. And so you see, at the very heart of who God is, we see community, we see relationship. And what I'd love is for us to flash up the Bible passage that we're just going to have a look at tonight, because I don't want you just to trust me. I want you to look at what the Bible says. So this little passage is from Mark's Gospel. It's a historic eyewitness account. And if as an adult you've not sat down and read this for yourself and decided whether you believe it or not as a thinking adult, then I really encourage you tonight, this week, do that and phone a friend that's brought you to this event tonight. So let me just read for you right at the start of Mark's Gospel. It says this, Mark 1. At that time, Jesus came from Nazareth in Galilee and was baptized by John in the Jordan. Just as Jesus was coming up out of the water, he saw heaven being torn open and the Spirit descending on him like a dove. And a voice came from heaven, "You are my Son, whom I love. With you I am well pleased." Now you might be thinking, what is she talking about? I don't even know what baptism is. Well, my daughters love the game of baptism. We have this massive bath upstairs and regularly they fill it as high as possible. One of them will choose to be the vicar. The other one will choose to be the person being baptized. They'll dunk them down like this, with water splashing everywhere, then they'll bring them back up and they'll both sing really loudly their favourite song. We love the game of baptism in our house. And this isn't what we're talking about here, but just in case you're wondering, that's what baptism is. It's when you decide for yourself to become a Christian and you go down in the water as a symbol that you're dying to your old life, and you come out rising to this new life, rising to this new commitment of believing in Jesus. So we love baptism in our house, but what is this talking about, and what relevance does this have to the God that I've been talking about, the personal God that I've been talking about? Well, here we see at Jesus' baptism, we learn more of the identity of God. We see God the Father speaking, we see God the Spirit, and Jesus, the Son of God. We see here that the Father covers him with love. Can you see that? It says, "You are my Son, whom I love. With you I am well pleased." And then we see the Spirit cover him with power. So what kind of God am I talking about? The God behind community? Well, this is one God in three persons who know and love one another. But if from all eternity, without end and without beginning, ultimate reality is a community of persons knowing and loving one another, then ultimate reality is about love relationships. And this is how God can be personal. He doesn't need our company, but the God of the universe has invited us to come and know him. This is in direct opposite to the self-centered kind of love that we see expressed all around us, and if we're honest, we see within our own hearts. You see, the Trinity, that's what God the Father, Son, and Spirit is called, is utterly different. Instead of self-centeredness, the Father, the Son, and the Spirit are characterized in their very essence by mutually self-giving love. No person in this Trinity insists that the others revolve around him. Rather, each of them voluntarily circles and orbits around the other. If this world was made by a God like this, relationships of love are what life is really all about, and is what community is all about. So this is how God can be personal. He doesn't need our company, but the God of the universe has invited us, you and me, to come and know him. And maybe you don't know him tonight. We would love to invite you to take steps towards knowing him this evening. But you see, if there's no God, if we are here just by blind chance, strictly as a result of natural selection, then what you and I call love is just a chemical condition of the brain. If you feel love, it's only because of the combination of chemicals enables you to survive and gets your body parts into the right places that they need to be in order to pass on their genetic code. That's all that love is. It's just chemistry. But if God exists and he is unipersonal, there was a time when God was not love. Before God created the world, when there was only one divine person, because love can exist only in a relationship. If a unipersonal God had created the world and its inhabitants, such a God would not be in his essence love. Power and greatness possibly, but not love. And if that's the case, where do we get community from? But if from all eternity, without end and without beginning, ultimate reality is a community of persons knowing and loving one another, then ultimate reality tonight is about love relationships. Those kind of relationships that we heard earlier in the videos, the stories of how community makes a difference, how we couldn't be who we are without community. But why would a triune God create the world if he were a unipersonal God? You might say he created the world so that he can have beings who give him worshipful love and that would give him joy. But the triune God already had that. And he received love within himself in a far purer and more powerful form than we human beings ever give him. So why would he create us? Not to get joy, but to give love to us. So I want you to think tonight about the kind of God that you think he is. A friend wrote to me the other day and she said, "Nay, I want you to know that I'm really grateful for all that you do for our community." She said, "I'm not a Christian, I don't believe in God, and I don't want to believe in God. But if there was a God, he would definitely be the kind of person that you're portraying in the way that you love your friends dearly." Isn't that funny? The kind of God she doesn't want to believe in is the kind of God that we're showing in the way that we live our lives. So I'd really like to ask you tonight, what kind of God do you believe in? And if you really desperately want community, if you don't know this God, this personal God of community, of relationship, then how can you have community in this world? So if you really want to get to know a person, you need to see them in all of their complexity, the good and the bad. You know what it's like when you have a housemate and you've really got to know them. And through this week, we're going to find out a bit more about who God is, because it's as God is revealed in the cross, we see not just a God of righteousness and power, but we see a God of a complex character. And it's only in these gospel stories that you'll be hearing night after night this week that you'll see who he truly, truly is. And if you want to see God revealed, if you really want to know who he is, then I recommend you skip to the end of Mark's gospel and look at the cross. For on the cross, God was much more than just a pure and a holy God than ever you're going to know. He was so holy and so loving that Jesus was willing to die for us on a cross. And that's how we'll know God. So I'd like to ask you tonight, what's your basis for community? What kind of God do you believe in? And would you like to know this God who is a personal God? He is a God that offers love and wants to bring you into community and relationship with him. Would you like to receive that tonight? Thanks so much for listening. We've got time for questions. Please send them in. We'd love to hear what you think.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Nick. We are now going to move on to questions. If you haven't sent one in but would like to ask one, the Slido link is just in the bottom left-hand corner. You can access that on the website or download the app on your phone. So let's jump in. First question we have, I'm part of many communities, so why should I be part of Jesus' community?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you so much. I'm not sure who sent that in, but that's a really good question. And so am I. I set up a river swimming club in May, and every morning I go swimming in a freezing cold river with some really good friends. So I'm not saying that we should just have a Jesus community. And in fact, even for those who decide that they want to know God, really they need to be in community with their friends as well. And I think that God is a model of that. So don't hear me saying it's either just knowing Jesus in a kind of retreat kind of way where you're just you and Jesus. We all need community, and I think the pandemic's shown that, hasn't it? Why God though? Why Jesus? Well, I think, as I said earlier, the God of the Bible is so distinct from any other religion, any other God, that he is a personal God, Father, Son, and Spirit, and he invites us into that. And so it's whether you want to live this life knowing a God who's a personal God, who can make a huge difference in your life, as we heard earlier from the videos, or whether we choose to reject that. I guess what we're saying to you tonight is come and find out who God really is, because he may not be the person you think he is. Like my friend said, I don't want to believe in God, but if there was a God, he'd be the kind of God that you're demonstrating, which makes me wonder if she does want to know a God of love and a personal God. So yeah, I hope that goes somewhere to answer your question. If not, send back a response.
Yeah, for the next question, if God loves community, why is there so much division within Christianity?
Yeah, that's an amazing question and really pertinent right now. There is so much division, isn't there? I think what's clear from that passage tonight is that within the Godhead, within the Trinity, there's not that division. We're selflessly loving each other and serving each other. And actually, that should be the model for us as Christians. So I talked about how God the Father, Son, and the Spirit were orbiting each other in this kind of other-centered love. That's our model. So where you see Christians acting differently and divided, that's not what God calls for them to be or do. So in no way am I saying, follow me and you'll know God, because I make mistakes all the time. My job is to point you to God, who is very different to me. So I guess what I can say is I'm sorry for where you have been treated badly and you've seen division. That's not of God. And sadly, all of us live with ourselves at the center, and that just means that we live in this very fractured world that we see. Thank you. That was a great question.
Next question. Does God really let all people into his community?
Well, it's a great question. Yeah, I mean, he went to extreme lengths to welcome everyone, anyone, into relationship with him. I mean, they are the most extreme lengths I can imagine. So God the Father sent his Son to live a life for us and to die to rescue us. And his Son willingly did that for us out of love. So I think when you look at the lengths that God went to welcome us into his community, then I would say, yeah, of course. And you'll hear more each night this week as we look into who Jesus is. But also I'd really encourage you to read through Mark's Gospel. It just takes an hour or so in one sitting. Read through and ask that question, you know, because as you read through the Gospels, you see Jesus welcoming really unexpected people, and all the religious people that he meets with, often they have a big argument and fall out. And yet Jesus is welcoming outcasts and people that are despised in society and rejected by society. So yeah, I would say you need to read the Gospel actually and see the kind of welcome that Jesus offers.
Yeah. All right. This is a good one. The community I've grown up in is so different from God's community, and I'm worried of what I will be losing if I left it. How do I handle that?
Yeah, and that's a really personal question, isn't it? And it's a really difficult question. I've got friends who, for them to become a Christian meant they lost their family and they were completely rejected by their family. So I think if you're investigating Christianity, then you need to also be investigating the church behind it and be asking questions, because really when you become a Christian, you get welcomed into a community of people that become your family. So I grew up in a single parent family. My dad hates Christianity. My brothers are not at all interested. And so for us, the church became our family. So I had my nuclear family, but the church has always been there for me in a really special way. So I don't say this lightly, because I can't imagine having to completely lose your family. I mean, I have friends that have done that and would say that Jesus is worth it. But I think you need to really consider what you're giving up and ask, is Jesus worth it? And in that, see that actually you're being welcomed into a family, a community within God, but the local church will do that too. And so it's worth going to the church and saying, are you prepared to welcome me into your family? Because I'm giving up so much for you.
Well, they're certainly not throwing any punches. Next question. Can you find community with Christians even if you don't follow the rules?
Yeah, totally. And actually, just don't follow the rules full stop. Like, why are we following rules? Christianity, like, Jesus hates rules. You know, it's about relationship with him. So I would say particularly you're welcome. You know, my life, as I said, my dad's a complete atheist. My brothers are really not interested in Christianity, but I love them and they love me and we're family. So I would say, you know, whoever you are, you're welcome. And yeah, I would say particularly you're welcome here tonight and you're welcome to get to know the Christian Union. And this is why we put on this event tonight. We want to get to know more people and share what we know about God with you, but also welcome you into the community and friendliness of Canterbury Christian Union. So yeah, absolutely. Forget the rules.
I like the sound of that. Do I have to be baptized to be part of the Christian community?
Yeah, that's a great question. So baptism, we talked about that a little bit in the passage, but also it's a symbol. It's your commitment to Jesus. And so it talks really clearly in the Gospels about when you commit yourselves to Jesus, you want to publicly demonstrate that. And Christians have different opinions. Some Christians think you get baptized as a child and others as an adult. So I'd say you need to read the Bible and within your church community, listen to what they're saying about baptism. But I think to become a Christian is to firstly turn away from your old life and turn away from living for yourself and turn to God and follow Jesus and say sorry for the things that you've done, but turn to him and ask him to give you this new life and this new hope in him. And I would say then baptism, I think it does slightly depend on which church you choose to go to. And because the Christian Union is a group of churches, I wouldn't want to be too set on that. Personally, my own church baptizes adults or teenagers when they've decided. But for me, when I got baptized, it was a really happy day. It was me to saying publicly, I love Jesus. I believe that he is the Son of God. And I want to give my life with him as the most important person. So it was a really positive thing for me when I did that as a teenager.
Amazing. Okay, one more. Will I be accepted into God's community even if I feel different from everyone else?
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know what you mean by that. I feel different from everyone else. You know, feel free to write back if you want to. I would say a lot of us right now feel very different from everybody. I think one of the big problems of the pandemic is we feel lonely. We feel lonely in society and we just feel we don't fit anymore. We don't fit with our friends. We don't fit with our experience of university. And I think if that's you tonight, then I would say Jesus is welcoming you. I mean, as you read the Gospels, Jesus really does not go to the people you would expect him to go to. He doesn't go to the kind of religious, the people that keep the rules, the nice CU leaders that look really good. He goes to those who are prostitutes, who are tax collectors. He goes to those that break the rules of society, who are hated and despised by society. So I think if you're feeling different tonight, whatever that means to you, I would look at the person of Christ and look at how he welcomed outcasts and outsiders into relationship with him. And I would say you're really, really welcome to know him. And as we saw, the character of who God is, he's this other-centered lover that gives to other people. And I would say you're really welcome tonight.
All right. I think we have one last one. Time for one last one. Do I have to be loving to people all the time and change completely in order to be a Christian? As I like my life right now, I don't want to change.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'm laughing because, you know, the last 6 months I've lived with my kids and my husband 24/7. Like, it's really stressful, isn't it, in these conditions? And I think more than ever, we're stressed out, we're angry, we take out on those people around us. And I think it's back to, you know, it's not about us just doing and should and earning and all those kind of things. We want to love other people, but you can only do that when you've received this extraordinary, generous, no rules attached love, this extravagant love. I think when you have received that from God, and you know that whoever you are, whatever you've done, whatever you think or feel tonight, he loves you. In our family, we have this phrase when we're sad. One of us says, "You are," and the other one says, "Loved." So tonight, you are, and then you say back to me, "Loved." When you have experienced that love, why would you not love? And I think love that pours out of the love that you know from God, it is a kind of non-stop, ever-giving love, but it doesn't come from you. You don't muster it up. You love because he first loved us. And so I think those areas that you want to keep to yourself, just really ask the pain that it's causing other people, that the selfishness that we have. Is it hurting others by keeping things to ourselves? And if it is, then ask God to help you love. But I think we firstly need to come to him to know that we are loved.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's all the time we have for Q&A. Thank you, Nate. It was such a lovely talk, and so looking forward to seeing you throughout the week and what all you have to say. And if anyone else has any other questions, feel free to get in touch with us. We have a follow-up form links in the description, and you can get in touch with us through the social media sites, Facebook, Instagram. I think that's all, but yeah. But okay, thank you, Nate. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Awesome. Yeah, and we're going to be having Q&As throughout the week as well. So any questions that you didn't have time to ask today, just keep them on you, keep them in your mind. Awesome. And now we are going to have time to find out today's competition winner, which I believe probably everybody has been waiting for. So please, at home, your best drum roll if you could. The winner of today's competition, Christine. Yeah. Lily Ayers. Congratulations, Lily. There's your Instagram handle. You've just won £20 voucher for Just Eat. Spend it wisely on food. I think that's what they do still. Thank you so much. And I believe our competition for tomorrow, real boredom is the topic tomorrow, and our competition is send in a photo of something that you did during lockdown, and you have another chance to win £20 Just Eat voucher. So get on that if you haven't already.
Definitely. And congrats again. And we have some exciting opportunities coming with CEU. We have a buddy scheme where you can get in touch with another member of the CEU, get a coffee, do devotionals, read a book together, so many options. And also we have an alpha course starting up, and I can tell you from personal experience, it's amazing. It's such a wonderful blessing. And when you get the chance, grab it. And yeah, and if you are interested, again, get in touch with us with the follow-up forms or through the socials. Yeah.
Our socials, by the way, are Instagram at Real Canterbury 2021 and Facebook Real Canterbury. And Lily, we will be sending you, I would imagine, an Instagram DM at some point to work out how to get you your voucher. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in this evening. Obviously, we can't see you, which is a real shame, but it is wonderful to see the numbers of people tuning in, all the comments and everything. Thank you so much for turning up. And yeah, we just hope so much. Please turn up to all of the events for the rest of this week. We have one 7:30 every single evening, and we have wonderful international events as well at 5 o'clock. So yeah, we hope that you are staying safe, staying sane at home. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a wonderful evening. Goodbye.
Bye.